Hi, I'm Alan Keele. I'm the principal and a lead instructor at Certified Information Security, and I'm going to show you the 5 steps that NIST recommends to stand up or integrate a NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 conforming cybersecurity program. Let's get started. NIST recommends 5 steps to initiate or integrate NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 into your organization's cybersecurity program. Now, the first 2 steps, scoping the organizational profile as well as gathering needed information, they kind of go together. It's difficult to scope without gathering information first. So, we need to get a good understanding of our own organization's current state of cybersecurity, what we have in place. So that way we can compare it to what NIST CSF 2.0 recommends in its framework. So that means that we not only have to know what we have, but we need to know where we're going. We need to have a good understanding of NIST CSF 2.0 target goals and objectives, because it's difficult to run off and do an assessment if you don't understand what you're assessing against. Okay, having said that, we need to also determine our organization's desired initial level of conformance to CSF 2.0. Meaning it's not necessarily an all or nothing proposition when it comes to meeting up with NIST recommendations. We could, for example, have plans and documents and policies for the recommendations and controls of NIST CSF 2.0. That would be one level of maturity. We could also perhaps have actually assigned those goals and objectives, roles and responsibilities to be performed. So we find that we can actually assess our conformance on a scale ranging from planned to managed, measured, and defined. These maturity scale levels were actually provided by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in their Cyber Resilience Review, or CRR, as recommended maturity assessment levels. Now, I'm not here to teach you a full-on NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 program, but I need to at least give you enough to understand where we're headed. So again, NIST CSF 2.0 is broken down in a very understandable and hierarchical fashion. It starts off with 6 project, I call them phases. They call them functions. So we need our govern phase, where we set up the program with its roles, responsibilities, policies, and things of this nature. And then moving on to, identifying our risk, understanding how we protect against those risks, understanding how to detect incidents, how to respond to them, how to recover from them. Those are the 6 core functions, or I call them phases, of a cybersecurity program. Now within that, they've broken it down into 22 major projects or subject matter categories within those 6 functions. And then within those 22 major project categories, we have actual deliverables that we need to accomplish, the goals, the objectives. In other words, what we're going to assess our current program against would be the desired objectives or goals, the control objectives, that are described in 106 subcategories of NIST CSF 2.0. Now then, it turns out that, there's the goal, what we need to accomplish. What are the tasks that would give us evidence that we're actually doing the right thing to accomplish those goals? Well, CSF 2.0 gives us 363 recommended implementation tasks. Now, do you have to do those exactly to conform? No, you may have other ways. But this gives us a good idea of the minimum that we need to be doing to in some way achieve those 106 desired goals. So we can look at those recommended tasks and see if they're actually being accomplished. If you want more in-depth training and a better understanding of NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0, we have training available live as well as pre-recorded on-demand self-study at Certified Information Security, which is www.certifiedinfosec.com. And for even greater depth of understanding into the tasks that you need to actually perform and audit against, join me for our NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 Lead Auditor Training. Again, you can check out our schedule online at www.certifiedinfosec.com. So once we have planned and initiated our gap assessment, we now need to actually perform our gap assessment to create our organizational profile, which is nothing more than the results from a gap assessment. Now, that means that we need to ensure that all 363 tasks or similar tasks are assigned to the right people, because after all, why should we assess our achievement status against those things when we haven't even assigned them to anybody to do? So I like to start off by just making sure that the right tasks have been assigned to the right people, and only then will I go and try to determine if they actually successfully achieved those tasks. So we will need to go and determine whether or not all subcategory goals and all recommended implementation tasks have been properly assigned. There are many internal assignments, but there are also some external assignments to suppliers and vendors. And once all the NIST CSF 2.0 roles, responsibilities, recommended implementation actions have been assigned, then we can assess the completion maturity of those actions, which again we may assess according to CIS's maturity scale of planned, managed, measured, and defined. And another reason that I like to start my assessment with determining whether roles or responsibilities have been properly allocated is because, well, it turns out that within the CSF 2.0 framework, that's actually one of the target goals that I am supposed to assess against. In the govern function, roles and responsibilities, the second subcategory, which is an objective, is described as roles, responsibilities, and authorities related to cybersecurity risk management must be established, communicated, understood, and enforced. Now then, the coming bullets that I'm going to show you are the actual recommended implementation tasks that NIST provides that would show that we are doing the things that would evidence that we're actually accomplishing this goal. So, have we documented risk management roles or responsibilities in a policy instead of just thinking about them? Have we documented who is responsible and accountable for cybersecurity risk management activities and how those people who do the activities are to be consulted and informed? So now what I'm looking at is responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Do I smell a RACI matrix here? Yes, I do. RACI, responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. If you aren't familiar with the RACI matrix, you can look it up online. Nonetheless, this means that if we really want to conform with NIST CSF 2.0 in GV, RR, O2, we need to have a RACI matrix that will assign the proper roles, responsibilities to internal management and staff, as well as the external roles required for our supply chain management, meaning we're going to be assigning some roles, responsibilities, and tasks to our suppliers and vendors. Okay, we need to also include cybersecurity responsibilities and performance requirements in personnel descriptions. We need to document performance goals for personnel with cybersecurity risk management responsibilities. We are supposed to periodically measure performance to identify areas for improvement. And finally, it's recommended that we clearly articulate cybersecurity responsibilities within operations, risk functions, and internal audit functions. And as I said, if you were to go online to the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 reference tool that NIST makes available online at no charge, you would be able to drill down through the govern function into roles responsibilities into gv.rro2 and find exactly what I just described in terms of recommended implementation actions. Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 in the govern function, roles and responsibilities category, and in the second subcategory recommends that we create a roles responsibilities RACI matrix where we assign roles or responsibilities throughout the organization according to who is responsible, who is accountable, who would be consulted, and who would be informed. Okay, so I created an Excel spreadsheet that does just that. In the blue row, you will see typical positions in an organization, senior-most being the board of directors and strategic committee. They do have assigned roles or responsibilities. Then I have C-suite, that is then followed by senior and middle management with our CIO, CTO, CSO, our Chief Information Security Officer, and the like, ranging all the way down to the far end, of course, with our IT director and manager, our facilities manager, our department heads who are accountable and responsible for risks within their own department, and that includes cyber risks. We also then have internal auditors, systems auditors, and don't forget about our supply chain management, because a big piece of NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 is cybersecurity supply chain risk management, third-party risk management. And then if we're going to have third-party risk management, that means our third parties have roles and responsibilities as well, namely that they're responsible for collaborating with us. So, again, you may have different positions within your organization that you need to assign roles, responsibilities to. Regardless of the title and how it's worded, someone will get these tasks. So you may be renaming columns, you may be inserting columns, deleting columns. Either way, you will make the spreadsheet fit for purpose to your organization. By the way, this is a spreadsheet that we provide as a free tool along with our training that I provide for NIST CSF 2.0 lead implementer, as well as the 2.0 lead auditor. We've had requests for this spreadsheet as well, so we've made it available on our website, available as a separate independent purchase if you wish. At any rate, getting back to the topic at hand, how we use this tool. So if you look down below, you'll see where I start off the govern function, and then within that, the category of organizational contexts, and then you would be expecting, again, subcategory objectives from there. Well, the dilemma is, well, this is an Excel spreadsheet, and since I've frozen the top panes, it doesn't give us much room to work with at the bottom. So I created collapsible rows, and by clicking the minus sign on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm able to get rid of all of that nice eye candy pretty stuff at the top, getting us right to the heart of the matter. Our positions across the top in the blue bar, and then, well, all of the functions, categories, and subcategory goals, and even the subcategory recommended implementation tasks. So, all of this has been loaded into a spreadsheet because it has to be assigned. Let's go ahead and scroll down as an example to gv.rr-02. Whoops, I went a little bit too far. And we'll expand that out. And we see, roles and responsibilities. We need to document risk management roles, responsibilities, in a policy. I chose to make the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer accountable for that activity, even though he or she may not be the person who actually is responsible for doing it. So, with the RACI matrix, if you know anything about RACI, it actually says that we should have one person accountable for any role or activity, and then we can have multiple people responsible for it. But you'll never have multiple people accountable for it. Okay. By the way, some tasks are small enough that the person who is accountable also happens to be responsible. They report to themselves. It's possible. So at any rate, so in this, you're seeing that I've got accountability assigned to the Chief Risk and Compliance Officer. And as I move on down, for documenting risk management roles, responsibilities, and policies, I'll have the people doing it as the Information Security Manager, the OT Security Manager, the Data Protection Officer, the HR Director, and so on. Again, it may differ in your organization. However, the task doesn't move. It needs to be assigned to somebody. Now then, again, to keep things consistent so that way we don't have variances between one field and the next, all of these RACI assignments are drop-down boxes to make it convenient and nice and easy and clean. Fair enough. So, again, without teaching you RACI about the difference between consulted and informed, by the way, if you wanted to see that. I went ahead and actually kept that as guidance. If you look in the lower panel in the legend where it says do not delete, I explained two things. The RACI key on the left, what all of the different responsible versus accountable versus consulted versus informed. And also, you're going to see in a moment that we're going to assess activity accomplishment by maturity scale as recommended by Department of Homeland Security and CISA for planned, managed, measured, and defined. Again, you may go by a different scale or you may not go by one at all. I decided to try to keep it as much as possible in the NIST CSF genre, if you will. Okay, so I clicked on Roles Responsibilities tab in the lower left-hand corner to get me back to my spreadsheet. Again, you can imagine all of the painstaking work that it takes to go through each and every single one of these subcategory goals that are supported by recommended implementation actions, where you will painstakingly assign roles, responsibilities. Now then, the first thing I would remind you of is that if you are one of those poor information security analysts that often attend my class who find out that the very first thing you're supposed to do is assign roles and responsibilities all the way up to the board of directors level, and you say, but I'm a security analyst. I don't even know those people. I don't even know where their office is. You, as Lewis Black would say, need to bring someone else to class. Basically, you don't have the authority to assign roles, responsibilities to people above you. That's a real problem. That's why we have different people doing that role, the people who have the authority to do that role. I've actually got a different video on our blog, on our website, about senior management's role in CSF 2.0. At any rate, getting off of that stump, we come back to this and recognize that we're going to assign all of these things. That's great, but then it occurred to me, okay, if we've got tasks being assigned as roles, responsibilities, why should I create up a separate spreadsheet to measure accomplishment or achievement of those very same tasks? Why couldn't I just add to this spreadsheet? So I did. If you scroll to the right, all the way, you will see where I put in an extra spreadsheet here for status. And status is current completion status. Now, what I did is the current completion status is where we are at today. Well, it turns out that where we're at could be complete or incomplete, but a lot of it is determined by what bar are you measuring it against. Well, if you look in the upper right-hand corner here, target maturity indicator level. If planned is as far as you need to be to say that you're at least on target, meaning we don't have anything in place, we at least want to get all 363 things to the very minimum planned level. That way, when we turn in our profile for eligibility for funding, we're at least orange, we're not red. If that is your target, well, you can set your target as planned, and as soon as you complete something to the planned level, it becomes complete. So if I'm at a target of planned, and I say this is planned, then that auto-calculates to complete. If I say I haven't even planned it, that means current completion status changes to not started. Nifty, huh? Okay, so let's go ahead and say that, no, we are at planned, so for now, let's move on to something else that we don't have planned yet. And we'll work on that for our roadmap to improvement, remember? So that's where this assessment comes in. It shows us in this current completion status what we need to work on. Now then, once everything has become planned, we might decide to up our game and say, but now we want to actually not only have roles, responsibilities assigned, but we want to have people actually performing them and doing them. Oh, do you then? Well, that's called managed. Once you change managed, being planned isn't all the way there. It's partially the way there, but it isn't complete. So it auto-calculates according to your desired maturity level. This allows you to phase your way in to NIST CSF 2.0 in a very sensible way. I have a lot of people say, well, which function should I start on? Well, you need all of them. They interdepend on each other. So How about get all of them done at least to a planned level, then get all of them done to at least a managed level, and then get all of them done to a measured level? But Alan, I don't know the difference between planned, managed, measured, and defined. That's what class is for. That goes back to what I said. Unfortunately, until you have the tools you need to work with, the knowledge that you need, it's difficult to do this job. However, in this spreadsheet, I did, if you go down to that legend, do not delete yellow tab, not only did I describe the responsible, accountable, consulted, informed RACI model, but I also described the maturity levels. Having said that, again, I did that because I teach it in class, and that's all fine and well, but I have to expect that our students, once they leave class, I won't be sitting there next to them, and they might like a nice, convenient, easy reminder. That's why I put it in this spreadsheet, so it'll be laying there waiting for them. At any rate, so I could scroll back and I look at my, Alan, all of this is, it's just cluttery again. Collapsible columns. Taking a look at the very top center where I have the cursor over the minus sign. If I click it, it collapses all of those other columns, so that way I'm only now looking at the assessment part. But if I ever find, we look at row number 14. That's only partially complete at this point. Isn't it handy that if I said, well, who's not getting it done? I could re-expand that, and I could say, who's not getting it done? Well, I now can scroll and see who I need to have a conversation with as to why compliance manager, chief information security officer, chief security officer, why is it we don't have this done yet to the managed level? It's nice that they're both in the same tool. So again, it's not the ultimate tool, I know. It doesn't allow for evidence collection and storage and cross collaboration and automatic reminder notifications. But you know what? It's a mighty fine way just to get things kicked off and started quickly. And this will also then will give you something to backfeed into a more comprehensive online integrated management platform for tracking and managing your cybersecurity program. So again, I walked you through this because several reasons. First reason is, if you don't assign roles or responsibilities to people, why worry about assessing status of completion when the actions haven't even been assigned? That's just nuts. So you would assess this first. If all of the right roles, all of the right responsibilities, all of the right actions have actually been assigned, we have a chance that they're being done. Now I can go and check and see what level of accomplishment we've achieved on it. And in the process of doing this, well, we can all pat ourselves on the backs because you know what? We just fully complied and conformed with GV.RR-02. With the right task assigned to the right people across the organization and having assessed our completion status against those recommended implementation tasks, we now can identify our opportunities for improvement, our roadmap for improvement to reach the next level of maturity in our NIST CSF 2.0 conformance. And with this action plan, we can now move forward, implement the plan, and then reassess after we're done to determine our next roadmap for improvement from here. I'm Alan Keele. Thanks for joining me.